Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Wendy York Davoud, and joining us today, we have Eboni Massey, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Petersburg City Schools in Virginia. Welcome, Eboni.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you for having
We're
me.
so excited to have you. Will you start with just a brief 30-second introduction about yourself?
Sure. Eboni Massey, I am an educator of 30 years in August. I started as a teacher in 1996, and I have just been really plugging along ever since then. I've had the opportunity to be an interventionist. I've been an instructional coach. I've also had an opportunity to be an ELA specialist. And then I had the privilege of moving to Richmond and I became a literacy manager. And by the time that I came to Petersburg City Public Schools, I was the elementary director, and now I am the director of curriculum and instruction. And so I just have a passion for education, and I think that all children deserve a high quality education. And so that's always been my mission ever since I've been in the
They
classroom.
sure do. And every single one, they deserve the very best. And it's really awesome, Ebony, how many hats you've worn. You've worn a lot of different hats in the public education arena. And thank you so much for, doing all of those things for kids.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. I totally enjoy it, and I still have so much more to give. So, very excited.
Okay, so I'm curious, what inspired you to go into the field of education?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, when I first started looking at going to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be in a field that would help people and that I would be around people. So I really, the college said you had to kind of choose a major. And my choices at the time were social work, being a reporter, or education. And I just happened to put education down on my application. And they put me in elementary education, and then all of the stars aligned. As soon as I started taking all of the classes, I started going to the field, experiences. It was a perfect fit. I've been passionate about it ever since, and so, that's how I ended up. I can't say I've always wanted to be a teacher since 1st grade. I like to talk, I like to be in front of people, and
Yeah.
I like to deliver information, but yeah, so that's how I ended up in education. I don't have a family of educators, um, and yet here I am, and I would not have it any other way.
Wow. Yeah, I guess the stars just aligned and
Right.
yeah, that's really cool. Okay. I like that. And
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite part when it comes to leading in a school district? What do you love about that?
I get really passionate about building capacity. I believe that we need to leave a legacy and that we have footprints that we need to leave behind wherever it is that we are so that it's better because we were there. And so I just really enjoy building capacity of students, of teachers, of principals, or anyone that I work with. I really come from that coaching background. And so I really enjoy the thought process and helping people just engage and think through things in a very strategic way. So that's what really excites me about being able to lead the team that I have right now because they are like sponges and we just are really able to feed off of one another and really start to do some really great things
That's
here.
so cool. Tell us about your team.
Well, I have a fabulous team. First, I won't even start with my team. I'll start with the team that I am a part of, and that's with Superintendent Yolanda Brown. She just started, and she comes to us from Atlanta. And then our Chief Academic Officer, Paul Brown, also comes to us from Atlanta. And they are wonderful leaders. Quite honestly, when I heard them first speak and talk about what they believed about teaching and learning and what they believed about students, especially the students that we serve here in Petersburg, I just, again, the stars just aligned. It was perfect. And then my current team, I being over curriculum and instruction, we have 6 specialists who work with elementary reading and math. We also have secondary reading and math, and then we have a K-12 history specialist and a K-12 science specialist.
That's awesome. Yeah, good stuff. I'm glad to hear that
Yep.
you have you truly have a team to help lead the work that you do because we all know curriculum and instruction is a that's a it may sound small, but that's a big job, so
It's a really heavy lift, and I think about central office work or the work that we do. Our work in I'm sorry, curriculum and instruction really is the closest, I think, to helping teachers work with students. And so I kind of call us the teachers of central office because we all have that teaching spirit. We still get really excited about all of the events and kids getting the light bulbs and being able to see that happen. And again, the team is just really strong in that we all believe and are very passionate about that
yeah,
work.
that's so cool. And I understand that Petersburg City Public Schools recently, worked to transform literacy, K-12. Can you tell us a little bit about the literacy transformation?
One of the things that happened, 2 years ago, 24-25 school year, we adopted new curriculum. One of the things in Virginia that became a mandate was the Virginia Literacy Act, and that required, school systems to really think about 5 areas, specific to literacy. One of those areas being high quality instructional materials. So Petersburg City Public Schools went through an adoption process, and we adopted a brand new curriculum that would help our teachers understand the science of reading and to make sure that all of our students had grade level material, but also material that would help to support explicit and systematic literacy instruction. And since that time, we have really been able to help our teachers not only understand the science of reading better, but we also know that our slowly but surely we're seeing incremental growth in our reading literacy scores. We know that we have to continue that track for a number of years when we talk about the change, science of getting people to think differently about teaching reading and also being able to help teachers understand how to teach reading. And in Petersburg, one of our challenges is that we have a lot of teachers that really didn't have a background in
Okay.
education. We had about 25% of our teachers that were certified in elementary school, and the rest were either provisionally licensed or long-term subs.
Okay.
And so having teachers come with that kind of background, we have to spend quite a bit of time just building their pedagogy,
Sure.
building their understanding of what teaching looks like. And so that was one of the reasons why adopting such a curriculum was so important because we wanted to make sure that no matter the background, we can ensure that students were getting the type of instruction they needed to help with
Yeah,
literacy.
sure. I'm curious about that. Why is it that you have such a large population of teachers that maybe chose teaching as a second career or third career that didn't necessarily have the teacher preparation?
I think sometimes, if I'm being really honest, I think sometimes in districts like ours where we have high poverty, right? We have a lot of students or families that don't necessarily have, a lot of education, and that's not true to all of our families. We have wonderful
Sure.
families, and our students are wonderful, but I also think that there has been a lot of turnover in our district in terms of leadership over the last few years, and so when we can't gain traction in that
Yeah.
way, I think we'll see that fallout, in the classroom with our teachers, and so the great thing is we're really trying to work to make sure we're building systems that are going to be sustainable so that we can make sure that we continue to attract high quality teachers.
Yeah.
Right now, I think people have left because of that, and now that they're hearing are being getting to be a little more stable here, then they're wanting to come
That's
back.
super exciting. Yes. Okay, good. That makes perfect sense, and that is not a challenge, that, is unique only to Petersburg. Uh, you know,
Right, it's a nationwide
I but
issue.
I will say that I feel so for any teachers that may be tuning in and, in the area looking to make a move, I want to share that I feel so very, very, very lucky to have served in very high poverty districts, where kids really came with a lot of challenges and in terms of social emotional learning, in terms of behavioral management, in terms of not even necessarily having food to eat at home or even having a stable home. And I feel so very blessed to have had the opportunity to serve those students and those families in those communities. It was so, so rewarding. So, teachers, I'm just saying, yeah, you gotta check it out, especially it sounds like with, stability showing up in leadership and systems that you all are putting in place.
I would agree, Wendy. I do have to say that's one of the things I think, oftentimes in our district, when people hear, "Oh, you work in Petersburg City," they go, "Oh, you work in Petersburg City," and I'm sure in some of the districts you may have been a part of, there's a perception,
Yep,
right? And so you kinda get that look. And one thing that, was very great to experience, and I think when people get into Petersburg, you experience it very differently, but our kids are awesome. Like, we're not the problem. You know what I mean? Like, they're ready to learn. The parents actually send them to school to all parents send their children to the best of their ability, right, with what they have. And so but when I've spoken with parents in the community in Petersburg, they and this is what you might have a perception of Petersburg, and the reality is very different in that the parents show up to events. Like, I just left a summer event that I mean, it was packed with parents wanting to hear and see what their children were learning, and the kids are ready to learn. So for me, it's how do we put the right people in front of our students so that they can receive the education
that's
that they
right.
deserve? Because they are ready to learn. Yes, in all places, you're gonna have kids
Sure.
that cut up a little bit. They're kids, but if we could get the right folks, and I will say that's one of our initiatives in the district. We have a strategic plan, Petersburg 2031, that we just rolled out, or
Okay.
we're actually gonna roll out in the fall, so you have the breaking
Yeah,
news. Um, however, one of the pieces is really to support, having teachers or being able to retain and keep teachers with us and provide the professional development they need. The talent acquisition, development, retention is one of our strategic
that's
priorities.
awesome. Yes, good stuff. I'm thinking of the way that you explained that. It reminds me of a situation that kinda, like, it got under my skin a little bit, and I try to maintain my cool and, but sometimes something rubs me wrong, and I was, serving a school district, and, uh, first year of our partnership, was super excited, and I'm let's just call it, XYZ school district, and there was a ABC school district down, area, that wasn't too far, and so there were lots of things in the area, to do and places to go, and I was just exploring one day in, um, let's say, the ABC area, and I was getting my nails done, and when they asked, where I was from and what I was doing and what do you do for work and, "Oh, so, where are you working now?" And, um, it was like immediate chatter, like, you know, and then like, "Oh," that, "Oh, you poor thing," and I just my blood started to boil a little bit because it just got under my skin because I said, "Well," and I said I think I maintained composure, but I said, "No, hold on. These kids they're chomping at the bit. They are ready to learn, and, they're wanting to be engaged, and they are like, the reputation isn't fair."
And I think that sometimes that also keeps people from, coming to a place because of stereotypes or the reputation, and so when we can find really good people, we need to also that's also part of our work is how do we retain them
Sure.
so that we can continue to develop and pour into them so that they can then pour into our students.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's a challenge everywhere, but it is a particular challenge here.
Yeah. I'm reminded also of the work that you all are doing to develop, a coherent instructional framework, and I'm thinking how powerful it is to, for that to be clear, for everyone, for people to really know, what's valued in terms of curriculum and assessments, and in terms of practices and culture and climate and all of those pieces, and then to have that drive the professional learning, is just so powerful. So will you tell us a little bit about the process and the development of an instructional framework?
Sure, sure. When Mr. Brown first came in, our CAO, he kept saying, "Do y'all have an instructional framework?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And, he said, "Well, can I see it?" And I couldn't quite find it. I had just kinda started. But then he said he found, a blue book. It's notoriously called the blue book here, and it's something that was left behind from a previous, administration. But he looked through it, and he found the where we were really grounded in the gradual release of
Okay.
responsibility. And so he said, "Oh, okay, we did that down in Atlanta, and, I'm familiar with the gradual release of Fisher and, Nancy Frey." And so, we looked at that being our instructional framework. Again, to be able to support not only the teachers that are coming in, but to give students a pattern for learning so they would understand, hey, we have an opening, we have a work time, we have a closing, and for teachers to understand that we need to start with that model. We need to start with, we do in terms of the teacher and student, but also the student and
Sure.
student, and then opportunity for them to practice, individually. So that first year, we actually implemented the gradual release with all of our schools. Our principals helped us roll it out. And then the second year, which was actually last year, we revamped the instructional frameworks so that they are still grounded in the gradual release, but are aligned to our curriculum. Because not only did we implement our literacy curriculum 2 years ago, last year we implemented um, math curriculum K-5, and then we also implemented reading and math curriculum 612 for our students. So our framework now gives that foundation not only for our new teachers, but our entire district so that they can understand what instruction should look like on the teacher side and also what students should do.
Yeah, and that's also really, an attractive piece for teachers and students when, you have current material to work with.
And that's the nice part, Wendy. They don't have to go out and look for anything. They don't really have to provide. And I just remember when I first started teaching, some of that was fun, but also some of that was just pretty difficult to try to put together research based
Yeah.
material that kids enjoyed, but also made it cohesive and coherent as we move forward. And so we've taken all of that out, and what we've said to teachers is, "Here's this curriculum, internalize the lessons and do what you need to do, but kinda make it your own." And so, I think of it like line dancing, that's really popular these days, and so, I'm gonna take it back though, because 'cause I'm a horrible line dancer, but the, electric slide? So I take it like the electric slide, right? Like, our curriculum is the electric slide dance, and, you go 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 back, up front, and if you start going 2 steps, you really kinda mess up the whole dance, right? But if you go to weddings, you see everybody do it. But have you ever seen someone do it so great? They do the 3 steps, then they get to that 3rd step and they do a split, a turn, a flip, something great. And it's like doing the electric slide, but they made it their own and you go, "Wow." And I'm still over there going, "1,
Yeah.
2, 3, left, 1, 2, 3, right." But I'm still doing it, and so that's kind of how we, want our folks to think
Yeah.
about it, right? It's not that we're taking away any autonomy, but we also know, we wanna make sure our students are getting everything that it is that they need, and so just go with us with the electric slide, but when you get to that certain stop, make it your own. Do a little spin, do a little flip, whatever you need, and we have seen teachers really rise to that in our
I love that
district.
analogy. It's great. Yeah. It's it's so true. Yeah, it's just
Right? You can visualize
you
it,
could
right?
see it. It's so good. I mean, the person that only does 2 has messed up the dance floor, like, you know?
You're kinda like,
But the person
"I
but
know,
the
that's why I
person
don't
that
dance
adds
now."
in the hips, they're good to go. It still flows.
You're like, "Wow, that's so great," so that's kind of it. Because I know people, especially teachers and being haven't been in the classroom, I understand the need for the creativity, I understand the need for the autonomy, and I totally get that. And yet, when we know we walk down hallways and we know that we can say, "Hey, I wanna be in, Davoud's room, I wanna be in Massey's room," or parents wanna pick because they know those teachers, and yet they skip the other 3 or 4 classrooms, that's not what we want. We wanna make sure that every classroom has that at least baseline, and then, people can add their flavor to it because we want every classroom to be a place that we would want our own students in or our own children.
Absolutely, yes, and that is a piece of John Hattie's research on, collaborative expertise or collective efficacy, that is really
Yes.
like, yeah, when you look at the variance that exists within a school building versus across the school building or from district to district, it's pretty wild and eye-opening, and yeah, it should not be that way.
Wendy, you just made me
Huh?
so excited, though. I'm so sorry. I started to geek out about this stuff, but we're actually moving from so the first year we implemented the instructional framework. Last year, we adopted high quality instructional materials. And this year, we're looking at John Hattie's work for instructional strategies, right? And we want to move from what works to what works best,
Exactly.
right? And so we've started to have a consultant come in, Dr. Kathy Kennedy, and she is coming in and helping us look at John Hattie's work and the effect size and being able to really make sure that when we're looking at those instructional strategies, we're doing them the way that they're intended because that's what's
Right.
going to help the most. But again, also helping build our teachers' toolboxes so that if they're doing the electric slide, they can pull out and go, oh, I want to do a jigsaw, or oh, I want to do
Yeah.
consensus map. And I know that those are high effect sizes that will help our students be able to get the information. So it's so cool that you just mentioned John Hattie and that work because that's exactly where we're
Well,
going
and he says
next.
I think the white paper that he wrote probably 10 years ago, maybe 12, in the white paper, I believe it's called The Politics of Collaborative Expertise. I could be off
Okay.
by a word, but anyways, short read, it's really good. It's yeah, it
I'm
it's
gonna write
it's
that
it's
down.
it's a great piece to weave into a professional learning opportunity, but I think he says we have to start asking what works best because 'cause we're trying to close gaps. We're trying to
Yep.
move kids. Every kid deserves at least 1 year of growth for 1 year of input at a minimum, and if we've gotta catch them up, we've gotta look at what works best, right?
And that's where we are in Petersburg, honestly. We're at a place where we can't even afford really to only give a student 1 year's worth of growth. We have to accelerate it in order for us to be able to close the gaps that we have because we have very significant gaps, from where our students are achieving in Petersburg across the state in comparison to where they are across the state. So we really do have to accelerate that, even though we may have some of the barriers that we have in terms of poverty, in terms of, language barriers, in terms of educational levels of experience that our teachers have, we still have a responsibility to try to help accelerate that for our students. So I am so excited about that. And yep, that's actually where we're going.
Awesome. Yeah. I also am curious about, leadership development. That's a big piece, on our show and teams, and just curious what that's like in Petersburg.
I think that we're really on a good track with leadership development. I mean, for instance, my CAO, Mr. Brown, has actually encouraged us to go to conferences to be able to get that, continue to stay kind of abreast of what's going on. And we're actually going to visible learning.
Oh,
I
cool.
also think that, so I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. And I just also just think having good leadership, we don't necessarily have a leadership program, but this year, one of the things that we are doing when we're talking about implementing the visible learning is we do have consultants coming in and supporting and working side by side of our building leadership, so that they can help build their practices around PLCs, be able to know how to give effective feedback. With our teachers and to help build culture and climate in a way that helps again to make people feel safe to take risks, but also to feel safe to
Yeah.
forward. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so that's part of the work that we're doing this year when we're talking about these instructional strategies. We will have a consultant come in monthly to support not only our principals, they're going to work with our specialists as well, because they have the content knowledge, but that coaching piece I talked
Yeah.
about earlier, how do you make this an environment that's filled with learning for all, not just our students, but our leaders, and that they can become the lead learners in this work and then be able to support that with their teachers in the building?
Absolutely, super important. Ebony, it has been such a pleasure having you on our show today. I'm glad that you've enjoyed this. Where can someone go if they want to learn more? They are ready to be a mover and shaker and a change maker, and they want to help kids in Petersburg City Public Schools get better and better. Where could they go to learn more about becoming a teacher administrator in your district?
They just need to go to the website and hit on careers, and then we are ready. And contact me, Eboni Massey at petersburg.k12.va.us, and let me know if you're fully certified. That's going to be a great addition. But if not, we'll help you
That's
get there.
awesome. Okay, cool. And then last but not least, I want to give you an opportunity to recognize, shout out, appreciate someone who has really had a positive impact on you as an educator or an educational leader.
Even now, 30 years in, I will say that Mr. Brown, our chief academic officer, has helped me think about leading courageously in a way that I don't know that I've had that experience. Because typically I work for women, and it's not because I do that intentionally, but I
Okay.
do. And so to be able to see him lead with compassion, with love, and with a strength that I think women don't always bring to the table in that way. And so to be able to see him do that courageously. I also, want to thank, I think, and you said
That's
one
okay. Go for
person,
it.
is that
I will allow you to
okay.
break the rules. I like it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But, Kathy Kennedy, the person I mentioned earlier, she's the person that helped me get into instructional coaching, when I worked in North Carolina, and, I just have always looked up to her, and I admire the work that she has done as a leader, and, her knowledge base is just so strong, and so I aspire to be like her. And then there's just one more person, my mother, of course, um I love her, and I just really appreciate her strength, and she has always been very encouraging of me. If you ever met her, she is my number 1 cheerleader. I almost think, "Mom, I might not be as perfect as you think I am, but she believes I am," and we all need that kind of wind beneath our wings as we
Yes,
move
we
forward.
do. That is beautiful. I hope you 3 are listening. Ebony, you'll have to make sure that you share this with them so that they can hear that beautiful appreciation. It's been an honor. Thanks again.
Thank you. Same here.
Until next time, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible, because strong leadership drives deeper learning.